Hey y'all, welcome to Pleiadian Point of View. I'm Peyton with Peyton Energetics, and I'm a Pleiadian channel. So in today's point of view, the Pleiadians wanted to talk to us a little bit about kind of the status of what's going on here on Earth. So they wanted to share with us that something important has shifted over the past couple of months, and that is what they refer to as a lot of what we may think of as negative beings or some of the darker energies that have really kind of been in control and running amok on Earth for a really long time now, thousands of years, have now left the planet. So they wanted us to know that if we feel into the energy of the planet, they said we'll start to notice it's gotten much lighter. So this is something that, if you know my Pleiadians, they don't get really deep into talking about the negative side of the spectrum. They don't get into the negative agendas. They don't see it as beneficial for us to put a lot of focus on it, other than to identify it so that we can integrate the energy and make another choice. So one thing they wanted to mention, because they know that a lot of people in the awakened community are in a bit of fear of negative entities, these negative beings. And they wanted to kind of reassure us about that. Because as you may have heard, if you're familiar with galactic history, Earth has historically been kind of what you could think of as one of the headquarters in the galaxy of some of the most negative beings out there. And a lot of us as humans didn't really understand that. But as we look around at our world, it is certainly not a surprise. But the guides didn't want us to ever be in fear about that. So what they wanted us to understand about the negative side of the equation, the troublemakers out there, which we know that there are plenty, they wanted us to know that there's no need to fear them. And here's why. This is what they wanted to chat about in today's point of view. What the guides like to say is that when you think of these negative entities, whether you think of them as the reptilians or the negative species, what the guides always come back to is everything is you. Everything is one consciousness. So when we look at these beings and entities that are making choices that we would consider to be not desirable, shall we say, we are just talking about other unhealed aspects of ourself. As the guides like to say, you are God consciousness. You create it all. And that extends to those troublemakers that we see out there, whether we are hearing about them in terms of the galaxy, these races that have caused galactic wars, or if we are just looking at some of the craziness that is happening on our planet. Whatever we are looking at is an aspect of ourself. So what happens where we give our power away to negatively oriented beings is when we think that they can control us, when we think that they have power over us. So what we tend to do as humans is we push against these beings. We start to get angry at them. We start to get in fear of them. We start to think they can do things to us. But what the guides like to point out is they are just unhealed aspects of ourselves. As soon as we heal and integrate our own anger, our own shadow self, our own fear, there's no need for beings like that to be in our reflected reality. So the guides always want to remind us we are always in the driver's seat. We are always in control. So they like to say that another being has no power over you unless you give it to them, unless you hate them or fear them. Because again, as soon as you get into those denser emotions, when you start to push against them, start to resist them, all you're doing is pushing against and resisting yourself. So as the guides like to say, whenever this topic of the negatives comes up, all you have to do to remove them from your experience is integrate it into yourself. As they like to say, it is part of you. And once you integrate your shadow is no longer reflected in your reality. So that puts us in total power over who has access to us and who can do things to us. It is only you. So what the guides recommend as we see some of this craziness playing out in the 3D world, they always encourage us, as we are looking at someone we don't agree with, someone who is doing bad things, to bring them into our heart and love them as a piece of ourselves. Because what we do when we do that simple step of bringing them into our heart is we bring a piece of ourselves back home. Because again, if we are rejecting them, if we are pushing against them, we are separating ourselves from ourselves. So just remember, it's all you. And as soon as you integrate that, bring that piece of you back home and forgive it, it doesn't need to be reflected in your reality anymore. So that is what the Pleiadians wanted to share with us in this week's point of view. I hope that helped you. I'll see you soon. Bye.